What's going on? This is Power Play Moves Analytics, and we're back here with another one. Yo, this one, honestly, its power level is over 9,000. I mean, if you really took a scouter to this, and this came out, you know, clearly you could tell when this came out. I mean, you could just tell by the video quality. So this was around when you could still kind of tell the truth, without the lynch mob coming to hang you up by a tree, But anyway, let's get into it.
Please welcome controversial columnist and best-selling author Ann Coulter. Her new book is entitled Demonic. Ann said some outrageous comments about single mothers. And Ann, I really want to welcome you, but I don't get this about
The single mother topic. Woo. There's pretty much nothing you can really say about it. No comments, nothing. Everybody else, knows they're not above reproach, except for them. But let's get into it. Let's finish it.
single mothers. They should give up their kids for adoption.
Oh, definitely. That's what the statistics are. I mean, not once they're 14, but a woman who gets pregnant out of wedlock, if she wants to do the best thing for the child, it is overwhelming. She should give the child up for adoption because the statistics, both from the left and the right, are overwhelming on what happened.
And hold up. God damn. Look at her. Oh, man. If you... That's Cersei right there. That is Cersei. Like, she will destroy everything and everyone. Ah! Yo, but, I mean... First off, the so-called Father Albert, this guy... Oh man, like his audience, you could tell who his audience is. So I mean, he's just all about them. It's not really about the truth. And it's funny. He's supposed to be a father, and if he has read the Bible, he understands where Ann Coulter is coming from, and to a higher level, a higher degree. But he has a show. He has ratings, and if he wants to keep those ratings for the most part, it's easier to manipulate someone who's led by their emotions, which tends to be a lot of times how the woman views and receives the world. So, I mean, truth be told, the Bible just gives you all the instructions that you need to know about men, women, the world, how to maneuver, what rules to put in, and I think people react to it in such such a condescending view of it because it's raw, whereas the world that we've been born into is a mixing pot of lies, and we're so used to that taste that when we get that bitter truth, we can't take it. I mean, literally in the Bible, it shows you how a man can have one wife or multiple wives and concubines, and it gives you instructions on how to do so. Now, anybody that's listening to this, if you've ever been to church, you've at least heard this. Now, your pastor can't go into detail about this because he don't want to hurt the women in his crowd, his congregation, which is the women. Because he knows they're the one that's paying all this other stuff. He has to cater to their feelings. But, I mean, then they're not a real congregation then. It's not about you. It's about order. It's about how God sees it. And how to keep balance within your community. And that's how you build a strong nation. Spiritually, you start off spiritually.
Happens to illegitimate children. About 70% of juvenile delinquents, teenage runaways, pregnancies out of wedlock are committed by the children of single mothers. If you were in the womb right now and you could choose whether to be black, white, rich, poor, the one thing you should hope for as a child in the womb is my parents are married.
Okay, I understand that that gives stability and all kinds of emotional strength to a child. What I don't get, though, is that we're singling out the single mothers, pardon the redundancy,
Right.
but we're not talking about these absent fathers.
Well,
Where are these absent guys? I mean, these moms are doing a heroic.
Of course, they would show the black woman enthusiastically clapping with fake coloring in her hair, makeup. The delusion is real.
Job. I mean, they're out there, they're working sometimes 2 jobs, they're getting their kids through school, they're feeding them, and the dads are nowhere to be found, and nobody's attacking them.
no one's celebrating them either. I am responding to a culture out of Hollywood, the courts, the elite media that is promoting single motherhood. They are not promoting single fatherhood or deadbeat dads.
What do you say to women who say, you are demonizing single moms?
All I'm doing is citing statistics. It's what
I thought that if you're trying to fix a society, you need to see all aspects of it and fix it. They talk about being equal, but equal means getting equal criticism as well. You can't be absolved. Yet again, you want to have one foot in, one foot out. Want to be equal, but you don't want to be judged. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. With the king, everybody always sees, the life, the lavish lifestyle, the crowds, they're just the overall scene of it and what he's attained, what he's able to do. But you don't see what goes on behind the scenes, the stress they have to deal with, the amount of responsibility. I mean, just like in one of my favorite movies, Troy, Odysseus says to Achilles, to a king, there are very few simple decisions. And for them, like I said, it's just their nature. They see things. They judge it by the vibe, and they see things at a surface level. And their majority of the time in their life, they're chasing fun. They're chasing excitement. Everything else falls to the wayside. And the byproduct of that, when chasing fun, going to these parties, going to these trips, doing all this other stuff, you can't have danger. You can't have it without excitement. You need that sense of mystery, unpredictability. So when you go out, yes, you are dressing to get the right man. And when men and women get together and drinks are involved and fun is involved, there's no cap on fun, which means sex is always on the table.
what works is the nuclear family. Now, sometimes that isn't going to happen. I mean, I do make a point of saying.
It's not going to happen. I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm hot under the collar.
Well,
There's so many great moms that are trying to be mom and dad to their kids. I know that they cannot be emotionally mom and dad. But they really are going out of their way to provide for their kids.
Look, it's one thing, as I say, a single mother is something different from a divorced mother. Single mother specifically refers to a woman who, A, gets pregnant out of wedlock, and B, decides, for narcissistic reasons, I'm going to keep this child for myself, because if she cares what's best for the child, she will give the child up for adoption, and that is a fact.
No, you think that's very judgmental? I think
It's a fact.
I think you're talking about maybe the Casey Anthonys of the world, where there's all this neglect that we can all see. Obviously, the jury did not see it, but there's a lot of controversy with mothers that are that way, that go out and party, that do this, that do that, and are not really responsible for their children. But a lot of single moms are being responsible with their children.
And yet, the statistics still are, if you look at it from the end of the spectrum of who ends up in jail, who ends up a murderer, who ends up a teenage runaway, who ends up getting pregnant out of wedlock herself, who ends up a rapist, about 70%, according to both the Village Voice and all these conservative pro-family groups, are going to be the children of single mothers. I mean, that is simply a fact. Now, imagine an America with 70% fewer teenage runaways, fewer teenage murders, fewer teenage drug addicts, fewer teenage pregnancies. That's what single mothers have created. And like I say, if you want what's best for your child, if you are pregnant out of wedlock, either marry the father, and by the way, shotgun marriages used to work just fine, but we've gotten rid of the stigma of a woman having a child out of wedlock.
The problem is,
back in the day, and this goes back all the way back, you know, arranged marriages, they worked. Overwhelmingly so. And it's always funny. Oh, well, she didn't want to be with him, and oh, it's me, I. Well, last time I checked, those arranged marriages went for the men too. And when you usually hear talk about arranged marriages, it's always about the woman being the victim, the woman not being able to choose, and this, and that. Well, under the guidance and rules of how men set it up, now that you have it, you can choose from your own free will. It just shows you that for the most part, they are terrible at choosing a husband. They're not really choosing a husband. They're choosing someone to have fun with, who entices them, who keeps them in that sense of euphoria.
it's good to get rid of those stigmas because we would put people always in a box. You know, this is the way you have to be. This is the way it works out.
And
you know, this is not an ideal world. And you're talking about an ideal world. Oh, in an ideal world, by the way, everyone has a mom and dad. We're going back, you know, to the days of happy days. You know, most of our young people don't know what that is.
When the kids turned out a lot better.
Well,
and they were given every advantage in life. Stigmas are good things. Look, we have a stigma against smokers.
Who are the single mothers of today?
Smoking is bad for you. But smoking is not as bad for you as being raised by a single mother. And yet, we have...
if... Oh my gosh. If we didn't live in a republic, they would have dragged her out of that studio and hung her by her entrails. Oh my gosh. And mind you, since then, who is speaking like this now? It's totally one-sided. Where is the balance? I mean, you know, if we're about order and making things better, we need to look at every aspect. Yes, a lot of those men, well, I'll say some of them, because you have to remember, when they're choosing these men, a lot of times in their what, their teens, early 20s, they're going after the bad boys, whatnot, quote unquote, the toxic guys, or the guys that don't want them, meaning, yes, I will have sex with you. Yes, you're pretty enough. Okay? And then she gets mad because for the most part, he never wanted to be with you or take you seriously. And on top of that, you're literally going after the dude that has all the leverage, who's messing with a lot of women. And you think just by you being cute and your vagina is enough. Like, you don't even think to separate yourself at all.
Stigmas, and they're good things. Stigmas against smoking, and yet smoking is not as bad for you as single motherhood. And they're obvious.
How do you come to that conclusion?
I've just cited the statistics over and over again.
One kills you. We know that smoking kills you.
One destroys a life.
You don't think smoking destroys lives?
Maybe when you're 70, you have an increased chance of getting lung cancer. You're talking about what happens to children when they are not raised with a mother and father. Basically, every women's magazine is talking about, single mothers by choice, where women go and get artificially inseminated because they decide, oh, my clock is ticking, I want to have a baby, I don't care if I found a man in time. That is narcissistic, it is selfish, and it is not taking the interest of the child at heart at all. And you don't hear that coming from anybody else, so I am the counterweight citing the facts on single motherhood. Sometimes it happens, I wish them the best, but...
And I can't imagine how much hate mail you've gotten from single mothers.
That's Funny that you think I read my mail.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think that when you say things like that and you kind of make these blanket statements based on statistics, I say to myself, gosh, I know so many good single mothers, so many heroic single mothers. I just can't agree with you on that. I really can't.
I wish them the best in their particular circumstance, but for everyone to keep their lips zipped, that's why you end up with an illegitimacy rate that has gone through the roof and is harming children and is creating two separate classes in America.
She's certainly controversial, my friends. We're going to take a break. This is the new book, Demonic, by Ann Coulter. And even though I'm more hot on the...
I think it's funny she would even call it demonic. You know, in a society, especially like America, it's pretty clear that if you want to destroy America, you have to do it from within. And just like in the first story ever told, you know, with Adam and Eve, that entity didn't go to Adam directly. Okay? He knew if he did, he wouldn't succeed. Because he's going to be in his rational mind. But through the woman that he loves, and because Adam put his woman on a pedestal, he was able to destroy that their environment, you know, and that dissension within amongst each other. Why do you need him? He doesn't appreciate you. Why is he always telling you what to do? Does he think he's the only one? Why is he so good? Doesn't it sound... What does that sound like? I mean, Eve was going to talk to somebody else. Eve was going out to do her own thing. She got bored. She wants to experience life. You know, she kept going to this guy. You know, but in American society now today, most homes are, you know, ran by the single mom. And a lot of times, let's be realistic here. If she wanted to keep that man, she could have kept him. But she has everything else being bombarding her emotionally, like, you know, like a shield being overloaded. She can only take so much. And that's what you see. Like, you have, you know, and if the single moms are, you know, raising these children, they're creating the very thing that they hate and they dislike. Because with the father being there, he has those sons that grow up to be men. He will guide him and tell him the truth. In reality, how it is. Not how you want it to be. Not how you feel. Life's not fair. No, sorry. And for the daughter, she needs to see what love is. He will show her what love is, and she'll be able to understand. They need to be able to see it for them. She needs to have to be able to seek her father's approval and satisfaction. So therefore, she can be with the man and do that in a marriage that lasts 20 to 30 years. If she never seen it, how's she gonna do it?
Hot under the collar now. We'll be back with Ann.
Extreme parenting.
I want to prep them.
Giving alcohol to minors 10 years old and letting her 16-year-old son have sex.
You provide condoms. We're back with the always controversial Ann Coulter, and this audience wants to get in on this conversation.
My first question is for you. Do you have any children?
Not relevant.
Here comes the emotional roller coaster. Just get your popcorn ready. I already know. Like, you know, they're not gonna address what she's saying. Yet again, I can't remember who told me this, but women show aggression through the assassination of one's character. Okay? Now, she's exuding how men think. Okay? Because when a woman's having a conversation with a man and it's outside of her job or whatever, and this is just socially, and you're spitting facts, yo, you might as well call them Houdini, man. Like, for real, like, the stuff that just comes out of their mouth, but yet they can go to a college, sitting there 4 or 5 hours a day, whatever, acclimate themselves to understand. So they can do it. That shows they can understand. But it's just that outside of that, how they process, how they see, how they move, they've been trained to do that in a particular way. And yet again, because they never seen it, how men and women are supposed to interact with each other in a marriage, not in a relationship where the man and woman, they're together. Because technically, when a man and woman are married, they're not married based upon, the ring. They're married when that man has sex with that woman.
Relevant to statistics.
Okay, because for me, I've seen, not only my family, I have a ton of friends who are single mothers, and the way they raise their children, they give them the most love than even two parents can give them. I'm raising a family with two parents, and you don't know what it's like sometimes to have two parents. Sometimes, some people, it's worse to have two parents. I agree. You'd rather have just one parent who gives you all that love than two parents who are constantly.
There they go, to the extreme. The exception is the rule to them. Yet again, we don't know the dynamic was going on with that family, with those two parents. We don't know. And for the most part, she's gonna take side with her mother. You know, the father is usually demonized. And was that man even, like, it's not like she was choosing that man based upon his character. Let's be realistic here. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. When she chose him, it was based upon how he made her feel. It wasn't based upon his code, his moral, his ethics. Matter of fact, if you start even thinking about rules and on that level, you're considered boring. And, the same things over and over again, they just don't know how to deal with that. Now, there are some guys that, get with these women and do that, and they ain't shit. But that problem will be avoided if you actually get your father and your brothers involved. Like I said, the way men had it set up, the success rate was in the 80s and 90%. You know what I mean? It was going to get them happiness, the true happiness of which they want, which is to have a family, a home, and children, a husband. Of course, you're going to have some where it doesn't automatically go right or whatever. But one thing I learned about them is when you have everything else set up, women can learn to love. You've seen it all throughout history. Like, I mean, whenever, whether it's arranged marriages or when they was taken over, when another nation was invading and they killed all the men, over time, those women settled down and they literally learned to love those men. I mean, they got bred out, but they eventually learned to love those men. It's just amazing to me. And you wonder why, like, oh, well, where'd all the black people go here? Where do these people go? Where do these people go? Well, without the men there, even if they did have a rebellion, I mean, they're not going to think things through all the way out, generation and plan. Through the family. So once they get comfortable and they have the money and all that, the safety and all this other stuff. I mean, you see it today. They're not choosing whether based upon code, morals, and ethics to better a society. They're choosing whether based upon can she have provision, security, and have children with this man, and does he excite her? That's pretty much it. Work, come home, and then they plan their vacation, and then you just do it on repeat.
Arguing, who they've been together for years and they're miserable, and you can't speak for everybody. We're speaking about statistics. Right. You have to live it in order to understand it, not just by statistics.
And sometimes Derek Jeter strikes out. And yet, he's still a great baseball player because we look at Overall, how many times at bats, how many times a home run? When you have 70% of the children in juvenile delinquent institutions coming from single-parent homes, yes, I'm sure some single mothers do a terrific job, and I'm sure there are some two parents who do a terrible job. And yet, the statistics are the statistics.
And we have more from the audience.
You keep saying, statistics, but anybody can make up a statistic.
That's why there's so many of them, from both the left and from the right, and for 30 years
Where do you think it's okay to say all this?
Okay,
I mean,
you know what, you may as well stand up.
My mother was a single mother, and I'm getting, emotional.
That's fine. You're saying what you feel.
I can't talk now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you may as well stand up and say, I'm a smoker and I'm very upset about the smoking statistics, and don't you tell me about lung cancer. The statistics are the
Please be
statistics.
nice. She's talking about something important to her.
So is smoking, and people dying of smoking, and so is people being raised by single mothers.
I don't understand.
Standing up and saying, I'm a single mother and you can't say that is not an argument.
Tell her about your mom.
I didn't say that I was a single mother. I come from a single family.
Okay,
I'm not a
you came from a
rapist. I'm not a
smoker.
murderer.
Don't yell at me about what the smoking statistics are.
We're not talking about smoking, lady. We're talking about single parents. We're talking about something far more important than smoking, I feel.
Yes, as I said, it's more damaging to a child.
So for you to even put those two together is ridiculous. I know you're saying this stuff, but do you think about it before you say it?
No, just shoot off at the mouth. It's a chapter of my last book. It has the studies there if you're interested. It is study after study. No, I'm just shooting off the top of my head what comes into my mind.
Actually, I'm a minor, and I come from a single family, single mother, okay? And I was raised really well. I'm doing really well. I'm going to school. I'm doing what I need to do to make it in life, and I'm pretty sure I'll probably be making more money than you, only because I'm not just famous for stating a horrible opinion, not a statistic.
Look, the point is not...
You can just tell what happens when, the lack of culture, leadership, in a plan. She's literally talking to her. She is a black woman. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. So you literally look like a white girl. You don't even want to you don't even want to be yourself. And then you try to tell her, oh, I'm successful because you have a career. Like, niggas don't care about that. And that does not necessarily mean you're going to have a happy life. You're put on this earth to be with a man. Okay? To have children with him. And to raise them up properly so they can become, productive citizens. You throwing out your career, whatever. How is that going to help your son or daughter, yo? When it comes to happiness. Yes, they can, go out here or whatever, but at the core, they're doing all those things because they have a vacant black hole within their spirit. And so they try to divulge it any way they can and whatever vices they can to distract them so they don't have to deal with the truth.
It's not what has happened to children who have been raised by single mothers already. Wish you the best. The point is to influence choices going forward.
But
now,
Ann, are you serious about this? Because everyone here is outraged in this audience. I mean, you are citing statistics. I know that they're credible, but what we're hearing here is you kind of focus this approach. Anti-single mothers. Do you really believe all of that stuff?
Who's the Christian here, Father? I care about the children. I care about how they are raised. And for you to be encouraging women to have children out of wedlock and discouraging them from being sent and to nice adoptive homes, I find shocking.
First of all, you are nobody to pass judgment because half of us didn't even know who you were until today. Second, I am a single mother. And I am a great parent. I own a business. I go to school full time. My daughter is smart. She is happy. I'm a mother and a father.
Yet again, she literally just almost said the same thing the other person said. She threw out her accolades, her career. You're the mother and the father. Just letting you speak and sound crazy. And yet again, your daughter, you talking about her happiness? Based on what? Happiness in life? Happiness with the man in regards to how to live with him? You're not going to show her that. Because she can't see it. You're not with the man. You're literally standing there right now and you just literally said... It's just crazy. They're literally just listening to argue at this point. They're not attacking none of her points. And, this what comes with, feminism, liberalism. The more... Because yet again, they don't know how to separate that I go out here and make my money to live because of the separation of the natural order things, how it was set up. And you separate that when it comes to dealing with the man in a relationship. Men don't care about that. All that lets us know is, well, to some, that you're less likely to take his resources and and grape him. But for the most part, we don't care about that because we know for the most part, like my father told me, he told me this, and everybody's heard this phrase. Her money is her money, my money is our money. At the end of the day, like I said, they get that career. Well, the main reason why they get it, they won't say it, is so they have greater mobility. They don't have to listen to you. She can have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. She's not, for the most part, in it for long term. Just the concept of marriage. It wasn't about your personal happiness. It was about the family and understanding your role. Your happiness comes from pleasing your man. And your man, he's supposed to be focused on higher things and making sure his wife has food, clothing, and shelter, and the children are okay. And he's supposed to protect them and guide them and rear them for the world. That's why they had this thing back in the day. Even in tribes, it had a rite of passage. Like, it just sounds like penis envy, for lack of a better term. Like, you want to compete with a man. Look how she's talking. She's talking like she's masculine. Look, I'll let her talk herself into a hole.
And I am great parents. We should be questioning how well adjusted you are.
First of all, I agree with what the girl just said, and I'm a single mother as well. I have a 15-year-old daughter.
We can talk to Ann without the personal attacks, right? I think we need to be balanced here and not take it from one extreme to the other, because then, we're blaming her for doing something that now we're doing ourselves, and we're going back and forth. And perhaps part of the problem we have in our society today is we can't debate and talk to people.
And here's my thing. So he's went straight to only women, as if they're the only ones involved in this, as if you can't even get the perspective from a man in the crowd. I guess you just completely left them out. I mean, yeah, these single mothers, they became pregnant on their own. Whatever.
The people who think differently than we do. And that's part of the issue here. Yes.
Okay, with that said, I am a single daughter, private school, ever since she was in the kindergarten. I hold it down, no welfare, no nothing. I work full-time. She goes to school full-time. She wants to go to Harvard, distinguished honor roll. I mean, so is that directed towards...
Also, yet again, career, work, food, and shelter. All right. A wise woman once said that maintaining a child and raising a child are not the same thing. And then you wonder why there's success in relationships is so low. They're not given the right information. They're not told in depth and with discernment how things are. Like I said, it's almost like she's talking like a guy. You know, a guy, we have to, since man was made, he's made to since out of the garden, the fruit, he will only get the fruits through his labor, by the sweat of his own brow. Okay? Our work and what we do has more effect compared to when the woman is working for herself in a relationship. That's just how it is. A woman's not made to support and lead a man. They start to become loud, boisterous, rude, just to the point where she won't even deal with you anymore, because she's going to find some other man that at least shows those traits for a certain amount of time. You know what I mean? Because a lot of them are just like treating America like an amusement park. They're going from roller coaster to roller coaster, and when the thrill is over and at the end of the ride, they just go to a different one. And they don't get humility until, I mean, when their beauty starts to go away. And this just shows you, like, she's, what, 40? 45? Maybe 50? And she's still talking like this. What? Look at her hair. I mean, you don't even want to be yourself. You're not, there's no happiness in being yourself. You don't think yourself that you're really that beautiful. You barely wear your hair natural. You got to put it straight, just like Ann Coulter. So what are we really talking here? You talking about you believe in yourself, oh, I'm strong, this and that, and you still don't even want to let that stuff go.
It's me being a single mother as well. I come from a 2-parent family myself, but I do very well with my child. No help, just me, and I do own a business as well.
And the father was totally absent.
What father?
See,
I
and
think that's
She said, what father? No respect. So automatically the guy is guilty, and she's the victim, as if she had no play and part to him leaving. Now, mind you, he might have been a POS. That's possible, highly likely. But what's funny is they choose those men. They choose to go after them. How many do? I mean, we're in the age of social media. We can see how many men go after women, naturally approach them. How many good guys did she turn down? How many guys that would have stayed? But yet again, to them, marriage, they treat marriage like how it was when they were dating. It's about excitement. You're talking about being with somebody over long periods of time for 30, 40 years. It has to have a degree of depth based on real foundations, not based upon solely how you feel. Because in the beginning of a marriage, we all understand that for the most part, that's infatuation. It's just physical. The first 3 to 5 years, that's just physical. It changes. Just like energy is neither created nor destroyed. It changes. Your marriage is going to change. Okay? But to them, like I said, they are chasing thrills. They are chasing excitement. Their idea of love is no different than an 18 or 20-year-old a lot of times. For years until they reach that certain age where they get humbled by Father Time.
This is my issue, and I think that we've talked about this during the break. I was asking you, what about all these absent dads? Do you ever say anything about them?
I think I've answered that. We don't have a society and a culture that celebrates them and encourages fathers to leave the women they have impregnated. When you start having movies and glamour magazines and the court system glamorizing deadbeat dads, but in fact we call them deadbeat dads. And I wish single mothers all the luck in the world. Very helpful having you all stand up and insult me. You are proving to me that you are fantastic mothers.
Okay, A, I don't know where you're getting your statistics. B, I think if you're not the one carrying that child for 9 months and feeling that baby kick inside you, you know, it's easy for you to say when you're not that person carrying that baby. And C, my mom was a single mom. I never met my dad. He went bye-bye. Never met him. She raised me. She was the mom. She was the dad. I never wanted for...
He went bye-bye. Why? Now, we all know, yeah, he probably just wanted some sex or whatever, but there's no accountability on your mom. And with her pride, she's not going to tell you the truth a lot of times. She might, I mean, pride goes before destruction. She'd rather die. You can't even, I mean, if we're being fair, we're talking about being equal. You'd be like, oh. And I mean, as a man, I would never ask a female this. I can just tell usually by her conduct. They can't even tell you about their body count. But we're equal though. Because you know. You know intrinsically your value is linked to that. You can't even be straight up about that. They laugh like, oh, what? Or lie and say it's under 10. Let alone tell you what really happened. Yeah, I was a piece of shit. I was acting like a piece of shit. And your father was a piece of shit. So we both was a piece of shit. But at the end of the day, it was his fault for inseminating this woman. Okay? You have to look at it from both sides, objectively, with facts and logic, reason, rationale. You can't just go by what your mom says. Because, of course, she's going to absolve herself of all accountability. If she can. And if she can, she will.
For anything. She gave me everything I had. I am 36 years old. I have a family of my own now. I have a 12-year-old, and I'm back in school now. I'm very successful, so I really don't know where you're getting this.
And I would wonder, you know, the barometer for this, these so-called women that are in these marriages, you know, if you asked them, how do you, what is the state of your marriage, all right? In public, nah, they're probably going to give you a politically correct answer. But if you could ask them, put a mask on, not take away the give them anonymity, and then ask their husband, you know, things like, how is your wife in the home? How does she regard you? How often does she treat you like a king in the house? You know, does she bring you peace of mind? Is there harmony? Is your house heaven or hell? You know, how does she talk to the kids? Is there a meal on the table? You know, is your house your vacation? Okay? Because, you know, is he? How often are you giving him sex? Are you waking up in the morning and giving him sex? Just because? I mean, y'all want stuff just because? You know, it's easy for them to stand up and say these things, but, you know, I guarantee you, if you actually started putting an actual spotlight on them, and they're actually able to be honest, the man is actually able to be honest, then you would start to see, because, like, for the most part, these are things that men, we know. We talk about these things, and we want to fix them. We want to fix them. But, I mean, and there's a lot of women that want to fix it, you know, because I'm pretty sure there's some women in that crowd that know she's telling the truth. A lot of them know that it's telling the truth. It's just that she's revealing the secret. She's not supposed to. They have that group thing, that no matter what, if we're in public, you always side with them instead of siding with the truth. If you're ever going to fix your problems, you have to acknowledge that you have a problem. Yes, man, we do. I mean, we're the captain of the ship and all that, but our guilt doesn't absolve your innocence.
I just don't know how you expect me to answer when I have a full chapter of this book with every footnote telling you where I got it. You want to know where I got it? You can look up the studies. You can stand up, find your own study, but there isn't one.
Okay, I want to thank you, Ann, for being with us. I know that everything that has gone on here is very controversial. We're listening to different opinions, and obviously Ann's new book is demonic, controversial too, once again. And we want to thank you for being here with us and taking the time to be on Father Albert today. And now, my friends, I want to hear your thoughts.
This guy, you know, is a fraud. You know, he's not doing his best. He's being disingenuous. He's not a real shepherd. Because I guarantee you, if he started whipping out that Bible and he started actually telling the truth within context and how those people actually moved, most of the women wouldn't even be there, if at all. Okay? Some of the men would still be there. Some. Because, I mean, you know, men, we're beat down with reality since we come into our own consciousness. We're beat down with it. So we have to deal with reality. We have to deal with the truth. And we create an environment for them where there's a buffer, there's a veil that they don't have to deal with a lot of these things. And, you know, you got fathers where they can't even be the man in the or the leader in the relationship, and that's their fault. That's their fault. But for the most part, their woman looks at them as an ATM. And whenever the child is acting up and not doing what she says and how she thinks, that's when she brings in the father at like a security guard. But him as a ruler, as a leader, as a beacon of wisdom, you know, all that stuff goes out the window, you know. And it's only a matter of time, because especially when the kids get older, you know, she's gonna bounce. Because for the most part, you know, a guy that loves his woman, he's less likely on average to leave her. You know, it's cheaper to keep her, my dad once said. And we understand that when we get into a marriage, that for the most part, it's not gonna, the excitement and stuff is not gonna be there. It's going to change. It's not gonna be the same. We understand that. We you know, comes to grip with that. But as long as you're loyal to me, you're not having sex with no other dude. That's how a man sees it. I'm willing to put my life on the line for you. And I have to be willing to do that at any given moment. You're not going to do that. You're not going, for the most part, they're not going to do that, man. They, like I said, our idea or what love actually is compared to what they think it is, you know what I mean? It's like night and day, you know, and they can't see it. It's like this. In order to be in a marriage, right, you have to be selfless. You have to have humility and sacrifice. As the man, he's the sun. Okay? The woman is the moon. You can't be moving and taking each other's roles. It's just not going to work. The children, and they know it. Whether they can articulate that, they can feel it. That's why, you know, in a lot of these homes, once the sons reach a certain age and it's just the mother, he don't look to her no more because she has nothing else to teach him. And the daughter don't take you seriously because, yet again, you have no man with you. And yet again, there's going to be that little bit of jealousy, you know what I mean? Because, you know, she's a younger version of her. And with the father, you know, naturally with the son, he's going to push the son out naturally because you can't have two bulls in a pen. So he's going to want to leave. But as for today, you know, comment, like, subscribe, Power Play Moves Analytics. And I'll see you next time.